Welcome to Zarnia for Games and Geekery. I'm Jon and this is Adhil.
Hi.
What are we?
We're bored to be wild.
Bored to be wild. We've already played enough like musical instruments, so we're not going to do that. We're going to establish that we are in fact a serious show by reviewing this very serious game, Praga, Kaput Regni.
Hopefully we got the pronunciation on that right.
We did not.
Yeah, probably not.
No. So what does that mean? Well, I actually did my homework for this game, so I know what it means. It means basically Prague, capital of the kingdom. See, just a little bit of Googling and there you go. Boom.
So in this one, we're trying to help the king, Charles V.
Mm-hmm.
It is the fifth, right?
I don't know.
Are you taking the fifth? I think it's
right.
Charles V.
All right, let's just get on.
We're helping Charles V to build up the capital city of Prague.
I love like the very medieval style illustration on this board.
It does have great illustrations. I think it stands out on the table, and I mean it's got these beautiful 3D bits. They've built up the Hunger Wall, they've built up the cathedral, and also the bridge, so these are all well-known landmarks of Prague.
Yeah.
In this game, we're building up this capital city of Prague to try and impress the king.
Yeah, so this is actually like, it's very historically inspired. In fact, there's a whole manual that just lists why different resources are there and what they're called.
Yeah.
But as you were mentioning the board, I also got to mention this little...
This is a kind of a rondel, and usually in a Euro game you would have a static rondel where you would move around it, but here the rondel itself moves. So it's really cool because you're matching up the different actions with some bonuses, but also initially if you pick the ones that have just been picked by other players, then you have to pay some currency towards that.
Okay.
Or if their actions have been left in the rondel for quite a long time, you actually are incentivized to take it by adding some points.
So what's the deal with the duck eggs? Like why do we even have eggs as a resource in this game?
So that's an interesting historical fact. It's to do with the Charles Bridge, where apparently the reason it's stood the test of time is because they used eggs in the mortar.
Eggs in the mortar.
Eggs in the mortar.
I thought that was incredibly random, having eggs, but apparently history.
And the eggs do play out in a few different parts of the game. So why don't we talk a little bit about how the game works?
I mean, like, I think I understood how the game worked.
Well, did you? So, 6 different actions that you can take during the course of the game. And the first 2 actions are both to do with the resources. The 2 resources, one is stone and the other one is gold. And what you do with those actions is that you can either take full production based on your production track, or you can move your production track up 1 and then gain 1 of the resource. That in itself is a choice that you're having to make when you're going into the productions. But the reason you're doing all of that is so that you can afford to build. So building, you're going to build buildings through the town of Prague and then into the old town as well. In the old town, it's a little bit harder, so there's some costs involved, but also
more eggs. You need more eggs.
You don't use eggs, but you do spend some money to place your buildings there. And then you're also going to be building the walls of the town. So that's going to go around your player board over here. And those you use to match up certain symbols. And that can give you some of the windows. It can give you some of these red or blue tokens as well. And those will give you some extra points at the end of the game, which we'll talk about in a second. One of the interesting ones that I thought was this walking along the King's Road. And there are a few steps that you take along the road, and depending on, and this is where you do need those eggs, you have 2 different actions that you can take. One that does cost you some eggs, and the other one that you would get no matter what. And as you move up, you get to better and better bonuses. And when you get to the bridge itself, that's where you get some really great bonuses, and you also get some end of game scoring that you can pick up.
Okay. I think what really what's the word got me was just the interaction between these various point systems. It was very, very hard to understand the gold, stone, blue tiles, red tiles, windows, white windows, gold windows, eggs, how they all matched up.
The tracks here on
And the multipliers.
Yeah, look, it is, and I think what I saw during the game was that you can invest heavily into one of the areas. So you could, for example, decide you wanted to build a whole lot of walls, right? If you build 6 walls, you get 18 points. And so you have to take quite a lot of those wall actions to be able to gain that many. And if you were going to do that, then you'd have to give up on something else. So I think, and I saw that one of the things that maybe you did wrong when we were playing was you invested in the walls, but you actually stopped short of going all the way, right? So you decided at some point that you were missing out on some of the other things that were happening.
Definitely.
And I think you got a little distracted.
Not distracted, I was confused. There's a very clear difference. All right,
anyway.
So it sounds like there's a whole deep level of strategy that I was just dipping my toes into.
I think so. I think most of these Euro games have an interplay of strategy and tactics. And what I mean by that is, at the start you might decide to go, to take certain actions more than other actions, and that's strategy. But the tactics part of it is what becomes available. And, for example, if someone was building around a specific plaza and there were lots of points to be had, you can't ignore that. You've got to then jump in on that, right? So even though that wasn't part of your strategy going in. I think part of the strategy is to set up your production in the early part of the game, so that in the later part of the game, you always, when you take the production action, you're getting quite a lot out of it.
All right.
Rather than just a little bit, or just enough.
Okay, I see my mistake now. My mistake was that I didn't understand how some of these parts of the game worked, and so I didn't work on them. And I apply that to the whole game. I don't understand it. Therefore, smoke bomb.
Well, as a history, someone that's interested in history, I would have expected you to be a bit more into this one.
Well, I'm very happy that I learned that fact about eggs. Yeah. Also, I know that if you mix blood with concrete, it makes it frost resistant. That's a little fact for you. Anyway, don't ask how I know that.
The cool thing with this game is that all you have to do in your turn is choose between 2 actions. So each of these tiles has got 2 different actions printed on it, and then you just choose one of those 2.
All right.
And so it moves pretty fast. It goes at quite a clip. I think the difficulty is in deciding what combination of actions you need to be taking, because you're trying to build up a little bit of an engine, and then you're trying to do a little bit of everything, which a lot of these Euro games try to encourage you to do a little bit of everything, but at the same time, you want to specialize a little bit in one aspect.
All right. I have some strong opinions about this game, but before, I would like to hear, Adhil, what do you feel about this?
This game actually is the game that I thought was the best one that I played that was made in 2020. And it really was head and shoulders above everything else, in my opinion. As a Euro game lover, this game really stood out for me. And it was the combination of so many different mechanisms, so many different interesting decisions that you had to make. And it looks amazing on the table as well.
All right. Well, it's time for a respectful disagreement.
Oh dear.
All right. This game is the kind of game that people make fun of. It's the kind of game where on your turn, you can trade an egg for a gold and a silver window, which you can then cash in to take another turn, spinning the rondel, moving forward with your action, advancing your academic widget up there and spinning the other thing around. And I don't even know, why is it 3D?
Well, I guess
Look, there's flatness right there. There's a flat version
I guess it didn't have to be 3D, but all of those things that you just mentioned get me really excited. I mean, those are amazing reasons why I love this
There's
game.
so many different resources.
Yeah,
There's so many different systems. It's like they took like 8 games and made it into one Uber game.
Exactly. And I think he's done such a good job of doing it. You know, it doesn't feel like 8 separate games. It actually feels like you're trying to do one thing, which is build the city of Prague.
I was trying to do one thing and it was understand what the heck was going on.
Well, I think you should play it a few more times, to be honest.
I mean, that's very kind of you. I think it's kind. Might also just be some kind of threat. Also, maybe you just like beating me.
I did enjoy that part of it. That was cool.
All right. Who's this game for then? I think I speak for all casual gamers that this is not a casual game. This is a game for people who love games.
True. And it did take a fair long time. So, I mean, it takes probably 45 minutes to explain the game. Probably takes 3 hours to play. So it's a good time investment. It is quite a heavy game. I think it's not going to be something, as you say, for someone who's just getting into the hobby games. So John, I know you were overwhelmed by this game. There was a lot going on and there were too many things maybe.
Okay, you make it sound like it's my fault.
But was there something that maybe you did like about the game?
Basically, I felt that it had a few too many bits going on. I didn't need to try and figure out how the relationship between the eggs, the road, the lower city, the upper city, expanding this model and that model and moving up these like different stairways. It was too much to hold in my tiny little head.
Where have I heard that before?
Never gonna live the Wombat episode down. Yeah. And now we have eggs, which are the classic, another marsupial thing. No, that's not marsupials. Sorry. That's monotremes. I keep on getting my Australian niche animals like mixed up. Not marsupials, monotremes. So let's close up with a positive note.
The game has a lot going for it. Sushi has done a really great job once again. And if you are into heavy games, if you enjoyed underwater cities, if you like terraforming Mars, this game is for you.
And if none of that seems like your kettle of fish or cauldron of ale or whatever metaphor you wish to use, then why don't you check out the reviews of some of the other games that I'm much more enthusiastic about than this one. Yeah, so like, subscribe, and watch the other things. Do whatever you want to do, and play some board games.
See you next time. Roll and roll.
I'm just a little mouse man. Look at me. Me. Sorry, I don't know.
You're a little mouse man.
I'm a little mouse man.
I thought you'd be a duck.
Okay, why would I be a duck?
You dropped your eggs.
Listen, if I'm gonna be a duck, I'm gonna be a boy duck.